I'm not even sure we're recording in progress yet. I'll tell you when this thing is going super slow. It really is. And go ahead, we're on, Frank.
Oh, welcome everybody to the
I'm not even sure we're
debut
recording in progress yet.
episode of the Skeleton Crew recap show right here on JLJ Media, your one-stop shop for all things Star Wars content. Don't go to any other of these sources on the internet. They'll just sell you lies and misdirections. If you want the real unvarnished thoughts and feelings and opinions on episodes, you come right here to JLJ Media. Hey, everybody, I'm Frank Moran. I'll be leading this esteemed panel of only the most thoughtful and insightful Star Wars critics around. Ladies and gentlemen, getting to see this handsome man's face after too long of a Star Wars hiatus. Oh, just looking so great. John Dumphy, everybody.
Thank you. I do. I feel pretty sexy right now, so I appreciate it.
Good, because you were looking it. As always, the our founder, our leader, our North Star of not only Star Wars but JLJ Media, James Lott Jr.
Hello, bitches. We're back.
Yeah.
Our Star Wars Star bitches, Star War bitches. I don't know. We're back. We're back.
If you're watching us live, feel free to like and subscribe, and of course, the super chats are enabled if you feel so kind. When if you want to just let John know how handsome he is, the super chat, or James Lott Jr. how amazing he is, feel free. But we'll be breaking
Hey,
down every episode of Skeleton Crew this season. Of course, with the holidays coming up in December, plans will be in flux, so we will cover every episode, but dates and times may vary. So just stay tuned to JLJ Media on all social media. James will be able to give everybody the most up-to-date news on when those subsequent recap episodes will be up on the platform. But without further ado, we're going to dive into episodes 1 and 2 of Skeleton Crew. They give us a double dose of excitement this week. Episode 1, this could be a real adventure. And episode 2, way, way out past the barrier. Now, before we break into these episodes into detail, John Dumphy, what did you think overall?
I got to be honest. I love it. I I feel like okay. So when I've approached shows like Andor or Kenobi, even Book of Boba Fett, which wasn't our favorite overall. You know what I mean? I feel like I've come in with a seriousness, where I'm like, I really hope that this show delivers in a certain way, but it's different than this show, than Skeleton Crew, because I know going in that the cast is primarily made up of these four children. Um, and so I feel like I'm coming into this show where others I've approached it with more of like a serious nature. I'm coming into this show feeling like I want to have a lot of fun. I want to have a good adventure with these young kids that bring in other, more serious elements of Star Wars with adults included. Maybe we see a Jedi, maybe we don't. Maybe we see the Force used, maybe we don't. But I just want to have a good, fun adventure with these kids. And at least through the first two episodes, that's exactly what it delivered for me. So I can't. I and the whole build up too with Ad-Atten. I know we're going to get into more of this too, but there are elements of like mysteriousness. There's elements of fun. There's some elements of seriousness with the pirates and all their mischief going on with the New Republic trying to tamp that down. And I don't know. There's a lot of elements of this story that I'm really enjoying, honestly.
Oh, all right, James. Do you share John Dumphy's enthusiasm?
enthusiasm. Yes, I do. I actually loved it. I didn't read any reviews or anything beforehand. I was like, I'm not gonna do. Usually, I do kind of get a feel of what people are thinking, so I can talk crap. But then I was like, no, I'm not gonna look at anybody's reviews. I remember telling you, Frank, the trailer was like there's some humor in it. It's kids. Okay, so I was like you, John, going into it going, it could really suck, or it could be really good. It felt like comfort food to me. No new ground was broken, but it felt like, as I saw the reviews later, The Goonies or Stranger Things meet Star Wars. I love both those things, so I'm good. I keep saying Gen Xers will love it. I'm a Gen Xer. I loved it. It felt like it. I have a couple of gripes, which we'll get into and talk about. A couple of minor gripes, but overall, the trip. I like the cliffhangers of each episode. It was a cliffhanger. It was really good. I feel like I know the characters actually in the first two episodes. I kind of know who they are. They said, "Oh, it was fast paced. There was action. There was comedy. Yes, it was like, oh my god, like totally Star Wars. It was like stuff, suburbia in the valley, but I liked it. I thought it was like I just thought it didn't dilly dally. It went to town. Kind of weird with this whole 49 minutes first episode, 32 minutes say. I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on there. However, I enjoyed both episodes, and I'm very curious to see where this goes. Frank
Yeah.
Moran, what were your thoughts on the show?
It's to its credit, I feel like much like Andor, like this show comes in with a strong point of view in terms of, kind of the feel and tone that it wants to give you. So,
Yes.
I mean, this, as you're saying, James, this does wear its 80s Amblin Spielberg-esque kind of vibe, proudly on its shoulder. Uh, so yeah, I mean, you just feel that, especially for the first episode when you're sitting there in Ed-Atten. You just totally get that vibe. I guess everybody's mileage is going to vary about how much you enjoy the show, depending on how much you enjoy these kids, because they're basically your guides through this whole series.
True.
And for me right now, I'm of a mixed bag of these kids. Two of them, I could just punt, like just toss them on an airlock and be done with it. And the other two, I'm digging. So,
I have an idea which two. I have an idea which two. I have an idea.
oh, all right. Well, James. I mean, yeah. I mean, as we're getting into it, I mean, we're sitting there at the beginning of this episode. We're on at Atten, and we start meeting who are going to be our four kids here. So James, based on the four kids that we meet, who do you think I enjoyed, and who do you think I could just like get him out of the airlock?
I think the lead kid, Wim, you can deal with. You don't want to deal with him. I think the chick, Fern. I think those are the two you don't like.
Yes, boot
I
them
knew
both.
it. I knew
Boot
it. I
them
know you,
both.
Frank. I know you because I was like, no, because Fern got on my nerves a little bit too. I was like, she's got my nerves a little bit, but again, it's a strong point of like they're showing us each character. She's supposed to get on your nerves. I think that's the whole point, right? The cool chick, I forgot her name already. I like her with the hair, it's cute. And of course, we love the lovable Neil. He's just like you can't not like him. He's just so I mean he's so lovable. But I had a feel I was like, Frank don't like the main character. I think he's probably. I mean, I like him, and I know
Yeah.
he doesn't like Fern. I know he doesn't because she is irritating. She is. Anyway,
John, where are your thoughts on Wim and KB and Fern and Neil?
I'm somewhat on the same page with you about this. So love KB, love Neil. Um, Wim, I'm not as hard on it, I think, as you are, because I feel like Wim, I get a little bit. He's annoying, he's a little grating, but I can see myself in him a little bit. He's that annoying kid that nobody understands, that just wants to go on an adventure. And every time he tells somebody like, don't you want to do something exciting? Don't you want to do something exciting? They throw cold water on it, and it's like,
yes.
why can't anybody understand where I'm coming from? So I see myself a little bit in a young Wim. Fern is where I agree with you, where I'm like, all right, she's annoying, she's mean. But I feel like again, I feel like we're supposed to be annoyed by her at this moment. And I think that later on we'll be like, all right, I love Fern.
I
Like,
mean, yeah. I mean, yes, given the archetypes, it definitely gives you that like hard shell exterior, and then we're gonna crack it open at some point and see like the soft, caring person underneath. Ugh, I don't care.
But Frank, that's what if this is a show aimed for kids, this is what they need. They need stuff that's very clear cut. And I think, like you said, the point of view is very strong. It's like
Yeah.
these two kids are the kind of the rebels, and KB is the one who's just very electronical and kind of just even keel. And Neil's like the lovable guy. I mean, because he comes from this loving family, and it's like so he's kind of like the best friend trope. I just kind of follow whatever Wim wants to do. But Wim, it's like he wants more to life. We learn obviously his mother isn't there anymore, obviously.
Yeah.
We'll find out more about that. His dad is always he got minor. Here's my least favorite adult. His father Wendell got my nerves. He is so busy. I'm so busy. I got so much to do. I'm like, oh God, he was like, so I was like, okay, we're getting that kind of trope of that he's just the system administrator is just too busy for his son. So his son wants these adventures. But to me, though, these kids were better than some kids in other series.
I agree.
I
I
mean,
not as much as some of the kids might have have bothered me more than other kids. Out of the four main ones, like I still enjoyed getting to know these kids. None of them bothered me so much that I was like, get that kid off my screen.
Right.
Like I want to get to know all of them more. I just have some favorites and some that are not so favorite. So
yeah, I mean, and there was nothing as egregious as the thugs or slash bounty hunters chasing young Leia and then running into a tree branch and falling over. So there was nothing as corny as that as we were trying to get this plot moving
Yes.
and our kids in the place where they needed to be. So for
yeah,
that,
yeah,
I appreciate it. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm torn because we've all consumed various types of media throughout our lives. And we've watched those 80 movies, those Spielberg movies. We've seen these tropes brought to life in many ways and shapes and forms. And so it's like I think in the general sense, yes, it's good, but in the other sense too, it's like, oh man, am I just like too old and cranky now to truly just appreciate it? Or I've seen it so many times that I'm just like, oh man, all right, I know what this archetype is. Do I want to sit here for another 4 episodes and watch this?
Yes, you're old and cranky.
Yes.
That's not the answer. I'm sorry, that's not the answer. No, for me, it's almost so. I can, as the oldest person here, I can almost see what Frank is saying. I'm like, I can see what Frank is saying, but I can almost kind of agree with him on some level. Yet I'm at that point where now nostalgia is coming in, where I like it. It's
Hmm.
familiar. So what you're saying is not wrong. Like what you're saying is like I totally get it if you're like, oh, that again. They are tropes. They're all common. I mean, we watch soap operas, Frank. I mean, hello. It's like it's kind of like, but now I kind of like it in this series because it's not. Because so far, it's not purporting to be anything than what it is. It feels like it's telling us, here's the story.
yeah.
So, and she's this, she's that, he's this, they're that. The headmasters are this. Like they get, like you said, every frame was like they told us kind of what is here's the world that we're going to be in. And I actually appreciate that. I just have a couple of gripes later. That doesn't do with this stuff, but the whole guy's a little later. But I was like, but that's kind. But other than that, it's kind of like, no, I see what you're saying. But for me, it felt like comfort food.
Yeah.
It was easy to digest.
Yes, and I think we're all the three of us are even closer on the same page than we even realize. Because I'm right with you, James, and I can agree with a lot of what Frank is saying. Um, and while if it was a different show, I might have more issues, but like just like you said, James, like there's a part of this that makes me feel very like comfortable. Like I'm like, oh, this is a really feel good story. Like as much as Star Wars at times has recycled the same things over and over again, I feel like The Acolyte tried to do new things, and now we have another show here in the Skeleton Crew where it's like, okay, it is sort of a new story. I feel like they've mixed it up a little bit. Like it's sort of a new story for Star Wars anyway, even if it's familiar to us. Um, and it has that nostalgic feel of the Goonies and stuff like that. You know, it's like it kind of melds those things together for me, and I feel like that's why I have enjoyed it so much. Is that I know that like this isn't the greatest show I've ever seen in my life, but it's a Star Wars show, and I feel like they're doing it in a pretty good way, and it's drawing in elements that make me interested and like, get me hooked, and that's why I'm at least through the first 2 episodes, like I've really loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I feel like any trope can be enjoyable if the writing and the dialogue are there. And so maybe that's just my issue too, where I just feel like maybe a little bit of the dialogue was just like a little and if it had been they had kind of done more to circumvent my personal expectations on stuff. But it's like John Watts, write a show just for me, and don't worry about giving it broad appeal. Just cater to my needs, as the
Yeah.
one solitary viewer here. Uh,
Of course, it should. Yeah, it should. Yes.
But I also feel like with the Marvel Universe, as we're talking about kind of Disney bigger properties, I feel like the Marvel Universe was also stronger too when it incorporated other genres and brought them into the comic book world. Like, Captain America, Winter Soldier, bringing that espionage feel. Uh, Even Logan, which is a Fox film, but bringing in that kind of Western kind of uh, archetype, that classic gunslinger on his way out kind of trope, and bringing that into a comic book story. I feel like those are so successful. So having Andor with this particular set of view that it had, and then this with kind of an 80s kind of tint to Star Wars, I do appreciate that, bringing some kind of different energy into Star Wars. And so for that, I did enjoy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can
but
I
we
also
do,
just
oh, go for
sorry.
it.
No, I was just gonna say, like, because I feel like coming into a show like this where we don't really know where it's gonna go, like, and how it's gonna fit into the Star Wars universe, right? Like, I feel like for me anyway, in the first episode, like that, we didn't get a crawl, but we had those lines come up, and it was, the Empire has been defeated, and the New Republic is ruling, but there's still these issues with pirates and stuff. Like I felt like even for a kids show, it's still in those little comments that they put up on the screen in the first episode, it helped raise the stakes enough for me for the show that it made me interested. We're post Empire, we're in the middle of the New Republic, so we're pre First Order. This is a story that's sort of unrelated to that, but we're talking about pirates that are evading the New Republic, and all this stuff, like causing all this trouble in the galaxy. And so I felt like even though it is a show that's driven by kids, the stakes are still pretty high. Like there's still stuff going on here that like I'm excited to see where all this leads to, I guess, is what what I'm saying.
Well, they're saying this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi. That's the timeline. It's 5 years after that.
Yeah.
That fits in there. My thing was, and it was kind of funny when they had him playing with little figures. I was like, so this is how I feel about this. I have a show called Mistletoe Road, and Mistletoe Road is about these people who get set, wake up in Christmas City, right? This felt like this a little bit. It felt like we're getting kind of a glimpse, like if you're a regular person during the Empire, or during during the Republic, what happens if you got on a ship and like you're now, like it felt like that's so maybe that appeals to me also. Like to put myself as an adult and go, what would I do if the ship start going off and I can't like, you have to learn this stuff. And also they showed the skeletons a couple of times, of the series. There are little Easter eggs here and there. I think there's some stuff in there that's if you look close enough or you know enough of the story's history, it's in there, Frank. I think.
Yeah. Uh, well, this episode gives us our kind of New Hope-esque entry point into the series, where we see, just a New Republic cruiser getting waylaid by a pirate vessel, and we get a very much a storming a New Republic kind of vessel kind of vibe. This time it's a bunch of pirates taking care of a bunch of New Republic citizens, and led by their captain, who, I mean, I feel like we already know where this is going.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah. And so that was the other thing too. It's like, why are we even trying to pull this in this day and age? Like, if anybody's watching this and going like, well, I wonder who that guy is under the mask. Are we ever gonna know? Yeah. What a surprise. Yeah.
Well, he hit that thing like a bowl on his head. I go, that's an interesting, not attractive mask. It was like it's like he had a plate or something on his head. I'm like, what the fuck was that? I wasn't digging his look. Captain Silvo or Sylvia, whatever his name is. I wasn't catching, but Brutus, he was a little brutal.
Yeah, I dug him. He's
Yeah.
very much like that Wolfman character that we saw like in the
Yeah.
Mos Eisley Cantina. So it was kind of cool to see him
Yeah.
doing his thing. And they open up a vault, uh, hoping to see a bunch of this is cold hard credits, and we just see one solitary credit just laying in there. Uh, I don't understand what, like, if it was supposed to be a bait and switch trying to trick the pirates in. We don't know that. It's just suddenly the good old captain gets overthrown because he
Yes.
guaranteed his crew a good payday, and there is just one solitary credit.
Well, I chuckled. We go mutiny. That was it. He was just dragged off. Like, okay, here we go, kids. I laughed. I kind of laughed. So
Yeah, I think we have to think about all these things just way more simply than we normally would for a regular show. Like it's obvious to us, but like it's for a kid that's watching the show, like where it's totally geared towards that, like they're gonna be surprised. But it's like I feel like for us, like we already know what's happening here, and like it doesn't take away from the enjoyment for me personally, um, as long as it's well done. So
Yeah, I mean, I assume we'll find out what that cruiser's true objective was, because why would you just send somebody just with one credit in there? Where they just seems weird to send a New Republic vessel off with just one credit if it's not a trap to capture pirates. I don't know. I'll be curious to see what it's for.
I agree.
Uh, but it takes us to the planet at Aten, which is very, very much your typical 80s Amblin picturesque.
Love it. Love it.
Yes. I mean, especially that one shot of Wim walking out of his house, and it just got that great, like, poltergeist kind of view of the suburban neighborhood. It just gives you that nice big pan. So you're like, oh,
But
all
I
right.
got a question, folks. So, because before he left the house, he had some kind of cereal. What color is that milk? Because it was dark.
Yeah. It looked like a dark gray milk. It
Yeah, it
didn't
wasn't
look like
blue or
blue milk.
anything. So
maybe
why
it's a,
can't their that's my gripe. Why can't their milk look appetizing? Why is it gotta be gray? Or like, well, what the fuck? I'm like, why can't it be like some fun color like green or something? I don't know. I was like, why can't it be
Yeah.
something else?
it's been on the storage shelves too long. It's lost it's still good, but it's lost its color. There's clearly something weird going on with this planet because
I just laughed.
they have old Republic credits. Nobody else seems to know that this place exists. Like it makes it seem like this is a planet that has like an unlimited amount of like rations to survive outside the rest of the galaxy, and that's why the milk is gray. That's what I think, anyway.
So weird. I was like, it's great milk. Well, it's kind of crazy. But,
I
yeah,
mean,
and,
it is a very picturesque area that we see. Like everybody's living in great houses. There's vehicles are really top of the line. All the kids also have like those little hover bikes that
yeah,
they can get around on too. So everybody's all set. But as James mentioned, it's we got Wim's dad, really, one of those more like detached fathers. I'm so focused on work. Work is busy, so you just take care of yourself. But I need to work. Uh, and then we kind of learn, which appreciated like a little bit of the insight to how this planet works. Much like with Andor, learning about like more of the how the Empire kind of the bureaucracy of the Empire. This we find out that there is a everybody's going to take this test coming up in the next day, and that's going to determine your path going forward for the rest of your life. Whether you're going to be like when they go when the when that superintendent comes over and starts going around the room like, oh, I want to be, a supervisor or a technician or
An
seemed like
analyst.
very yeah, analyst. I wanted to be an analyst.
Yeah, it's like, don't worry, we need lots of analysts.
Ay, ay.
I chuckled so much. It's for the great work. The great
Yes, everybody has their place in the great work.
the great work. That was fun too. And Homeboy Wim was like an etch a sketch. I was like, it was like an etch a sketch. He was drawing. Was that one of those when I was a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to know. I had a big etch a sketch. We used to draw it all the time. No, that's what it reminded me of.
The one thing, going back to the top, because we do see Wim at the top, and he's playing with some action figures,
I
the
love it.
lamest action figures ever, because they're like just like more like green soldier men. They're just lame. Like, come on,
Just
you're
like
sitting
little
there.
army men.
Yeah, I mean their feet are like planted on a base, so they can't even move. They're all just like they're basically just mini statues. I'm like, come on, if we're getting all this cool technology, you can't give us like multi-joint posable action figures for the kids to play with.
Haven't you ever
Because
seen Toy Story?
Yeah. Once he left, they all came to life.
I'm gonna say that's the contrast, I think, because they're not focused on that. They're focused on analysts and
That's true.
coordinators, and they're not focused on kids having fun, so to speak. Right? That's the whole thing. Go to school, go to school, go to class, go to class. That's why Wim wants to have fun, Frank. What the fuck are you not understanding, Frank? He wants to have fun. He has nothing going on in his life.
Yeah, like girls, he just wants to have fun.
Yes, exactly.
Did you
And it's
know
like,
that?
it's like him and Neil have their little fake sword, fake lightsaber fight. That was fun. It was like just like they don't have nothing else going on. All I do
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
all I do is go to school all the time and study.
I did just
Uh,
want to say, because of that girls just want to have fun reference, I actually this year worked a Cyndi Lauper concert on my birthday. So,
oh, and how was
but
she?
she was fantastic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, fantastic. But that's it.
I
All
love
right.
Cindy. Love Cindy. Love
Yeah,
Cindy.
Uh, sold out. Do people
sold
still?
out.
Yep.
Oh
All
15,
yeah,
right.
I'm sure.
yeah, over 15,000 people.
Nice. All right.
And so well, she's a hometown girl.
Yeah,
She's a New Yorker, so of course.
yeah.
I
Mhm.
just watched her documentary, folks. A little side note. It's called. It's a documentary. I just did a show on it, and it's on I think Paramount Plus.
Mm,
Um, and it's really good. And I almost forgot how she brought wrestling into the mainstream and all the stuff she was doing back then. I totally forgot about that stuff that she was
Mhm.
doing back then, and
yeah,
and she was actually in her 30s when she came out. People thought she was the same age as Madonna, and she wasn't. She's Madonna's contemporary.
yeah. Oh, she was
Uh,
great.
yeah.
She did a long show. A lot of it was her speaking and telling stories,
Oh wow. Okay.
and it was great. Yeah, honestly, very enjoyable show. And honestly, a lot. Everybody said she sounded even better than anyone expected her to.
Well, yeah. In
So
her 70s.
yeah,
Oh. Did she give a shout out to Captain Lou Albano?
yes.
Nice. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, she did. Oh, kind of cool.
Oh, fantastic.
Very cool.
Well, yeah, pull out those rubber bands.
I don't remember all that.
Yeah,
I was in high school and I was all in. I was all in. All in. I miss the 80s, you guys. I miss them.
we do see that as women kneel are on their way to school, they happen to notice Fern and KB just on uh, their little hover bike and taking a shortcut. So I do appreciate how the show kind of planted seeds, so you could see how things kind of fell into place later on in the episode. Much like Wim's tendency to oversleep.
Hmm.
Cut to Wim oversleeping and realizing, oh man, I better take this bike. I feel like the pacing of him trying to get to that school, considering how fast everything was happening at the school and the test, I'm like, wait a minute, this is not, this isn't tracking. Because it's like there's so much time in the school day it seemed to go on while Wim is just cruising through this forest. But Wim takes a shortcut, finds some kind of hatch, and for a boy who dreams of Jedis and Jedi temples and adventure, holy cow, this looks incredible. But before he can investigate, he gets found by a droid. And then, James, I'm sure you've had to go into the school, brought in. Did you ever have to give that harsh talk to a child or a grandchild? Going, you got to get it together.
They don't want to see me coming. They don't want to see me coming. I was that. I was, and their mothers were like, they call me, goes, you need to go to school. They didn't want to do it. They make me do it. That was more effective apparently. I had two daughters, so like and you have a daughter too, Frank. So you'll be dealing with this later. Um, they sent me.
Great.
It was funny because both of my kids were very. I'm sorry to talk to you guys a little bit. Were very smart, which was a problem. They're very smart, and that was an issue. So for me as a kid who was always in the principal's office, I would send myself there because I would get mad at the teacher, and I was always James is a great student, but he talks too much in class. And so I would go to the office myself. So my mother had never had to come do that. She was like, they'll say, well, they call my mother and go, well, James is already here. He brought himself to the principal's office. They're like, oh, okay. I sent myself home. But with the kids, yeah, I've had to go in there. I've had to go there several times and have to figure out like what is going on here and go off to work. They just go home. But we left together, um, and grounding was happening, and was taken away. Tamagotchi and things like that. It's that whole mar. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I've done it before many times.
Uh, John, have you been on the receiving end of a parent's wrath at school?
Um, I have, but yeah, for very dumb reasons. I'm a very theatrical person. And so there were a few times that I went into class. I remember this one teacher in particular, Mrs. Rubenstein, um, who I she hated me for some reason. And I remember one day going into her class and I was singing the song we were singing in chorus that day, which was "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, coming for to carry me home," right? And I walked into Mrs. Rubenstein's class singing that song, and she sent me to the principal's office. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Apparently, singing was against the rules, and I got grounded by my parents for singing in class.
That's that's great. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But Frank, you see how John did that though? He's like, no, sing that song, sweet. And also he starts singing. Yes, we know John can sing. Everybody, John can sing already. We kind of slid that in there. You know what, the class? I'm not ready. Yeah, you start belting out all of a sudden. Okay, John.
Let's get it
Get it
on.
on. I can sing too,
Come on,
John. So
baby.
I can sing too.
Well, we do have agents that listen to this podcast, so I think John's taking a shot. You know?
This is my audition.
Now, was little Frank Moran a bad kid?
No, I was a good little boy. You know,
Right.
I'm like how would you say, a brown noser?
Oh,
So
okay.
like,
You one of
yeah.
those. Okay. Ass kisser. Okay, got it.
Oh, there you go. Bringing that apple. You know, I washed your car at lunch. I don't know. It just goes.
Oh, I hate you. Oh my God.
Didn't you say you had three assignments you wanted to give us today,
Uh,
teacher? No, I,
Wash your teacher's car.
I would
You know,
beat you up every day. No,
I
really.
actually I saran wrapped my one of my teacher's cars actually in school. Got like several rolls of saran wrap and put them all around the car
uh,
of this
uh,
teacher. It took like several hours for this teacher to open their car up again after school.
oh, were you ever caught or no?
No, I blamed it on
Oh,
someone. I blamed it on someone else.
You don't get caught now. They'll be like, wait a minute. The statute of limitations is over now.
well, during this chat with the with Wim and his dad, Fern also happens to be sitting there. For what reason we do not know, but she is at the principal's office as well. And then once she hears that Wim has discovered something in the forest, she's immediately intrigued. Uh, Wim goes home. His dad, of course, goes back to work. I got to go back to work. You just get yourself home and you study and you make sure you ace this test, even though you're losing 50 points. So you can't afford to miss anything. Wim instead, he studies for a little bit, then it says, like, no, wait, I got to go check this thing out in the forest. So gets Neil, gets some tools, heads back out. And then we get into the weird thing because I feel like he just mentions that he found something in the forest. He gets there back to where he found it, and all of a sudden, Fern and KB had been there ahead of him and have been digging it out. I'm like, how the heck would you know even where to even go to find anything like this? So,
That's one of my gripes. One of my gripes. I was like, that's kind of weird. Okay.
yeah. John, did that bump on you?
It didn't.
Really?
Honestly, it didn't. And I'll tell you why. Because again,
Okay.
my expectations, not that the quality of the show should be lower, but just that like my suspension of belief of things is going to have to be greater for a show that is driven by kids. Like, of course they're going to find the spot where he was digging this girl. Like, like they set it up for us like that. And I feel like I just have to be okay with it. Like it might not make the most logical sense in most Star Wars shows or movies that we watch, but again, I'm coming into this as the Space Goonies. So like this kid talks about something he found in the forest. Of course, this girl that heard it is going to find it. Like for me, that just makes sense. And I also feel like this girl seems to, I think her mother, right, is the undersecretary. Um, so if she, she might have a little bit knowledge. This is how I like make more logical sense of it too, is that this girl might have some more knowledge of the restricted areas on the planet because her mother is an undersecretary or whatever. So if she hears some kid talking about something she found in this restricted area in the forest, like maybe she knows where to look. Who am I to say?
What am I saying? What am I saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that is, we do get a bit of Fern's home life as well. She's somebody that, you know, once she leaves home in her school uniform, she quickly does like a quick change so she can look really cool when she gets to school in a rebellious outfit. She's not gonna be worried about wearing those those same clothes that everybody else wears.
She's the Han Solo of the series, that Fern. Yeah.
And very technically adept because she's not not hesitant to rewire or reprogram a computer or robot, a droid, excuse me, to be able to cover her for when she's like, I was just studying, you know. So, but we do find out her mom is the undersecretary. So, and she's, uh, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe just having I guess her issues that she's got a really demanding parent or a parent with high expectations for her daughter. Like you're supposed to be at the top. You know, she gives her back her like you're at the top of the class again. Here's your patch. Which I'm like, I do like you get a patch if you're at the top of the class. They make it easier for you to be spotting out and get beaten up by everybody else in school.
Exactly. That's what I thought too. Exactly.
Are they also setting up like a kid love story here, where it's like Fern has a mom that's really hard on her, no dad though, and then
Oh,
Wim's got a dad that's really hard on him, but no mom,
oh, it's a modern day Brady Bunch. It's gonna
right?
be great.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't even thought about that. I didn't even think about that. That's kind of funny. I like it.
Well, it does seem to be setting us up there. Well, I guess the parents are going to be doing something to figure out where their kids are. So maybe you're right, John.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe there'll be a star-crossed romance
Yeah.
between the parents. But all the kids are right there, and we get into some like nice Tom Sawyer like maneuverings with Fern, like, oh, getting Wim and Neil to do all the digging while they just sit there like, oh, there are no boys allowed. Like, okay, I don't know. I was a little bit done with like, no girls allowed, no boys allowed. We're
Yeah,
gonna call dibsies.
this was like
Uh,
a EO Cooties moment. Yeah.
Either. Exactly.
uh, but they make their way into the ship. And as you know, that I'm gonna ask both of you, if you were brought into a ship, which they don't know it's a ship at the time, but it is just something underground, would you be more like women, just touch everything you saw, or would you be more cautious?
I would definitely be more cautious.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would touch everything. I'd touch everything. As a kid, I'd touch everything.
And I feel like these next beats, your mileage may vary about in terms of how you feel about Win and how you feel about the story, because Wim does touch everything, and despite everybody saying don't touch anything, do not touch anything, don't touch anything more, and he keeps continuing to do that. So,
But it had to be that way. It had to happen. That's what
Yeah.
that's a
yeah,
kid trope. It's a kid trope. I knew this part. I was like, so when it opened, I was like, don't go inside. The doors will close on. Like I knew, we knew that was going to happen. Like I knew that was going to happen. But I still was like, it's what kids do, right? This is what they're gonna do. And so when he started touching, so he's like, say, he ran across the droid. Was it SM-33 or whatever? He ran into the
It's
droid.
me. It's me.
It's me. It's me. It's me. It's me.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a pirate story. You gotta get Smee.
right. And then all things are kind of the little rats and stuff. I thought it was all kind of funny. I thought that's all kind of kid stuff. You want to touch everything. Don't touch anything. We're in charge. KB33 is going looking at things analytically. It worked for me. It all worked for me.
all right. Well, they get the ship activated, and then and they get the cockpit activated, and of course, there's a great big flashy green button, and Wim touches it, even though he's like, "No, I shouldn't." At least he took a moment to hesitate and dwell on it. So I guess props to him. But it closes down the ship, starts a launch sequence. Wim's dad's in the forest trying to find him as well, and he gets there just in time to see Wim and these four kids being rocketed into space.
I enjoyed that sequence, actually.
Yeah.
How
Me
it came
too.
out of the forest, how it was twisting. It was very Poseidon adventure. It was like they're on the top, or they were climbing out. That whole and he's watching it all happen. And it's coming out of the forest. We're getting the reveal of the starship that they said is to be there. That is, and it's powering up. And like I'm thinking he's watching his kid about to shoot off. He knew he was going to shoot off somewhere. Like this is crazy. Like he all of a sudden now you want to be there for your kid. You can't do
Yeah.
nothing to help him. He's hanging out the end. All tropey stuff. Loved it all. Frank. I was all in. I was like, get in his jab, pull him in, pull him in. Of course, they pull him in, and then it closes up, and then it just shoots off this guy. I loved it. I loved that whole sequence. I loved it.
Uh, Yeah. Well, that's how we end the first episode. Great little climax.
Oh, first of all, no, first before we ended the first episode, it was I thought the climax was good because it was first they shoot off, they show them in the air, then all of a sudden there's the hyperdrive thing happens,
Yes.
and they scream and it goes black, and I go, oh, that's right. Oh, I wasn't paying attention to the time. I thought great cliffhanger because now they've left Atten, and now they're in a ship. They don't know how to use it, and now they're gonna be shot somewhere. We don't. Where are they going? Chris community for us to go. What are these? They never saw the stars. I'm sure that's a trip. They're like
Yeah.
these planets. It's like no planets, but they're stars. I thought that was very. There are little things that were telling us, like little tiny things throughout the series that kind of give us a little thing. But I just love that whole sequence, and then that all of a sudden they're in the air. It's beautiful to them. It's beautiful, but they don't know how to work this thing, and then it shoots off.
I agree. A very cool way to end that episode. John, did you appreciate the cliffhanger nature of episode one?
I did, and I appreciated it not just for the hyperspace moment, right? But also before that, they showed the droid, right? And all the kids were saying this droid is dead. It looks like it was reaching for this handle, but the way that they showed it foreshadowed that this droid was going to play a larger role. So watching them go off and get lost, knowing that this droid is going to come to life for me, like was like an extra cliffhanger. It was like, all right, these kids are lost in space, and this droid is about to give them a big surprise.
But also, Daddy's down there. He just watched it happen. So I'm thinking, what is he going to do?
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
will we see him again? Well, which we do in episode 2. But I was like,
Right.
will we see him again? What's going
Right.
to happen? Who's going to tell?
Especially this, yeah, and especially this dad who seems to be like his son is living on cloud nine, wants to go on this big adventure where his dad is so by the book and like go
Yes.
to bed, study, wake up, go to school. Here's all your money for lunch this week, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And it's like now this dad who is so structured and has been trying to like rein his son in has to grapple with the fact that his son just got launched into space in a
Yes.
starship. And it's
Yes.
like, you know what I mean? So like, I just, yeah, I love the way this episode ended. I really did.
Well, I feel like episode two, excuse me, is kind of the whole big it starts setting out some of the pieces because I feel like the biggest thing is everybody here, like at Atten. What is at Atten? It's a myth, it's a legend. Nobody's ever heard of this planet before. When it's mentioned to people in this episode, people are like, "Ah, that's not a real. Yeah, what are you pulling my leg about this place?" So there's definitely a mystery to be discovered about this planet, and especially the way that it is kind of the barrier, the Great Barrier, which seems to be more of a protective shield, or at least some kind of cloaking aspect to keep this city, this planet hidden for whatever reason. Uh, and while they're focused on the great work, are they tied into the Republic, the New Republic? I don't know because why would the New Republic have a planet and then have it cloaked as well? Yeah, it seems like a lot of questions that I assume we're going to get answers to.
Hopefully.
Uh,
Yeah. Hopefully.
but we start episode two where the kids finally get out of hyperspace. Where it was going, nobody knows, but they get out.
I know they were still screaming. They picked us
Yes.
up and like, I can't
Yeah,
but
yeah.
But then they realize, hey, we're in the middle of space. We have no idea. The ship can't take it back. It has no like go back to where we came from
right.
button. They don't know how to operate the ship at all. And they realize we're stranded in space.
Well, can
But
I also say about that? It's interesting because one of the kids said like to the droid, like just look in your last known location in your memory banks. And the droid had no recollection of At-Atten, even though that's where the ship was crashed. And so, like, I wonder what happened in this crash to make this droid have just no recollection, nothing in his memory banks, nothing saved anywhere. Like, it was just, it's how did the ship get here? How does the droid have no recollection of this? Like, that's interesting to me too. It's like the droid couldn't get back there, even though it was there. The last known location wasn't in the memory banks. Like, how did this all happen? I guess is what I'm curious about.
I want to bring this up for a second. This is for both episodes. The droids, we're seeing a whole different side of them. Because in episode 1, the maid droid, Fern reprogrammed her. to say she didn't know that she was upstairs studying. That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that. She's like, nope. She goes, wait a minute. And then basically programmed really quick. She's upstairs, but she had a little funny little aside she said afterwards. And then, of course, we meet SM-33. This droid has like an attitude. I mean, attitude. And just like first wants to kill them. But I think I'm just saying the droids actually have very interesting personalities in this series already.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate a good opinionated droid though. I feel like that makes it more engaging for the story. If it's just more of a docile type thing, no, we're just kind of doing whatever it's supposed to do. I like one that kind of pushes people's buttons or pushes back on stuff.
Well, he's looking for a captain. He wanted a captain. She the
Yeah.
captain now. But she's looking
Oh
for a
yeah,
captain.
Fern says, "Oh, I stabbed your captain and
And
threw
I
him
was
out the
laughing.
airlock."
I was laughing.
I stabbed him in his gut.
Yeah. I was laughing.
Yeah.
But it was like, but I know I appreciate it. I was just saying it's just that interesting. These droids have different, even the ones who are like, go to class, go to class. Everybody has that. I mean, they're not just one kind of droid.
Yeah.
They actually have personalities. And yet SM-33 for sure, while they're in space going, what do we do? And they're trying to figure out like Frank said, not Frank, John said, what to do. He couldn't remember. So that's a whole other story too. Like whose ship is that, first of all?
How did
We
it
have
get there? How long has it been there? Like that's yeah.
right.
And that's the one thing even like on Ad Atten is the droids that we do see very not like any other droids we'd seen in the Star Wars universe as well. So it's not like things that we'd find in the New Republic. We're not seeing like astromechs or protocol droids or anything like that. It's I mean, if anything, they're probably closest to uh, uh the the stupid true the from the episode 1, 2, and 3. Those
Oh,
uh yeah, those droids in terms of just like maybe body shape.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. For another reason, it seems like that. Another reason why this planet seems to be separated also as well from the New Republic. It's just kind of got its own thing going
Yeah.
on.
Frank, they said later it was no. I wrote it down. They said it was known to have eternal treasures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I don't know.
Lost planet. They set it up as if it's like the city of Atlantis, this planet.
Basically, yeah. That's what I said. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, who knows? Like, I don't know. Like, do they mine something? Do they have something there that is incredibly valuable? What is this treasure? Is the treasure just the people within it, like the friends we made along the way, kind of deal? That's the
Well,
true treasure of Ad-Atten.
I think what's weird too is that like because we see the kids, right? Like it's funny in the first episode we see Wendell throw just a bunch of credits down on the counter and say, "Wim, this is your lunch money for the rest of the week." And it's funny to just see somebody throw a bunch of gold down on the desk, right? But then when Wim shows up on the starport and gives this, they're like, "What? Old Republic credits in mint condition?" It's like, why do all these people on Ad-Aden have this Old Republic money in mint condition? Like, it's what's going on here? Why are all these people so wealthy? Why does nobody know about this planet? Like, it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah. So because they can't figure out where they came from and how to get back to Ad-Aden, the SM-33 suggests going to a spaceport to find somebody that can help repair the ship, and then also they can get directions. So off we go to the spaceport. Interesting that we've got like I kind of enjoyed the tropes of the spaceport. We got a ferryman who comes over like in some kind of like just like a bubble of sorts. It just ferries them over to the actual spaceport itself. Uh, and then I guess we really kind of see where the kids are kind of just in over their head, where you're surrounded by a lot of just aliens and pirates from all different planets, just all looking to just make a buck and kill anybody that gets in their way. But we do see one dancer that at least like, tries to get the girls like, hey, this is not where you want to be. You got to get out of here. And that's where we start getting the clues that Ad-Atten is just uh, like nobody buys that they're really from Ad because it seems like such like no, that's a myth. So uh, Jen, did
Yeah,
you enjoy this? Oh, go ahead, James.
I think you're gonna ask what I was gonna say. So go ahead and ask.
No, no, James, you say it.
I would say no, it's I like the Star Port. I liked it also. It's very Star Warsian. And there were I was looking around everything, all these different elements, kind of dark, kind of dark. There's some humor in there a little bit too, and I don't know. I like again we're getting these worlds because we said it for those shows that should be out there. It's Star
Yeah.
Wars. Create all these worlds. I mean, it's not just one place. There's a whole universe, a galaxy far, far away. See what I did? And there's a whole world. So I'm glad that they're taking the time to create these worlds. They did it on Mandalorian. They did it on, the search show. They showed different worlds going on. I really appreciate that part. They did on Andor. I just love that. To see just other scenery. So I was like you. I was very little bubble thing, but I mean, it's kind of fun, and the monkey like thing asking, that's drive. I guess I love all this stuff. I just they say see different species, and they just walking around, and there was an element of kind of danger, and that was I think that was Port Borgo or something they called it, or I guess something else was over there. And then leading them up to them getting locked up. But it's like before that though, it was like, oh, we got a little world going on. We just see it a little bit. I loved it.
Yeah. John, I mean, I know we've seen pirates before in Star Wars, whether it's, the Clone Wars, Rebels, and now kind of in live action, we're kind of seeing a more deep dive into not just pirates showing up on a ship or anything, but we get to see where a lot of them can congregate and just get into trouble. How did you enjoy the spaceport?
Loved it. I thought this was just like James said, very Star Warsian.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like this actually reminded me a little bit of a scene from Star Wars Rebels, where the crew shows up at a port and Chopper, one of
Yes.
our most beloved droids,
Yes.
sees a leg in a marketplace that would match with his body because he lost that leg, and Chopper ends up stealing that leg, and in the process, like misses his trip with the crew to get out of the spaceport because of all of his misadventures, and like that's what this felt like to me. And I'm like, all right. I'm relating this show, Skeleton Crew, a live action show with these kids, to Rebels, which is one of my favorite Star Wars properties ever. And I'm like, these kids being in this port reminds me of Chopper trying to find his missing leg. And so like while it was a little bit silly with the kids running around and not knowing what they were doing and being stuck in dangerous situations, I was like, this is Star Wars to me. Like I love this. Like this is fun. Um, yeah, I loved everything about this. I thought the characters looked great, the aliens looked great. We got the introduction of the pirate crew that we saw in the first episode coming in as like the leaders of this spaceport. And it was I don't know. I had a great time with this whole thing. The different experiences of going to the shops and seeing the different food places and the different credits, and then like when and oh my God, Neil. Oh, sorry. Wim and Neil going to that food place and putting the credit down and realizing now, oh my God, we shouldn't have put that down because this is apparently a lost treasure and everybody now is looking at us. Like all of this was fun to me. It was very fun.
Well, the one part that I was kind of like, oh, brother, is towards the end, as they're getting ready to take him by the pirates. We saw a little bit of him in the episode one, and then we get to see him actually talk here in episode two, and that's James's close personal friend, Julia White. Uh, man, did not do much for me. In his brief speaking time in this episode, kind of brought the tone down for me. James, how did you feel seeing your boy?
Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. He's an icon. He's an
He
icon.
is. He is.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, absolutely.
no. I loved. I was waiting because I knew you were like, oh my god. I was waiting for it. I was happy to see it. It was brief, whatever. I had no problem with it whatsoever.
Like I mean, James, as we've talked about many a time, that I mean, we would not say no if somebody ever asked us to be in a Star Wars property. So
Exactly.
absolutely. So I am not gonna criticize anybody for grabbing that brass ring.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah. We say it all the time. If they said James Lodge Jr., Frank Moran, John Duffy, you gotta play this character for 5 seconds in a Star Wars show or movie. I would do it. I wouldn't even. I don't care what it is. I would just do it.
I would do it too. Yeah.
This my favorite franchises. I mean, in the words of Dame Judi Dench, the Oscar winner, as she said about one of her producers, "I'll slouch in a doorway. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it." And it's because I love this franchise so much. To say I'm a
100%.
Star Wars show. So I mean, if you're Jaleel White, I mean, again, you grew up with the second. He's younger than you and I, Frank. So he's probably around John's age, but like he grew up that second set of movies. So I'm sure he's. I mean, come on, anybody would do it.
Yeah,
So, but I was just curious when he would come in. We just said no. So I was like, oh. It was like kind of like, oh, I think I jumped for a second. Like, oh, okay.
I think I kind of just wish they gave him a more like unique look because
Yeah.
it just looked like he just looked to me like Cyborg from Marvel or something like that. Like there wasn't anything special. You know what I mean? Like I was expecting like if Jaleel White is gonna make an appearance here, give him like a fun, exciting character. And it was just like him in like a robot suit. Like I don't know.
Maybe that was it. Maybe they were just like, we have a smaller role. Do you want it? Anybody said sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just probably like one of those body modders that we saw in Book of Boba Fett, which, ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, and I suppose like, whether it's a great performance or kind of a mediocre performance, the check still cashes. So
It sure does, kids.
And that is all that's important.
You get action figure one day. That's it. That's all that matters. Once you're in, you get
true. Yeah, that's coming. Maybe he will change my mind in subsequent episodes. So far,
underwhelmed. You're underwhelmed.
Yeah.
And that.
Meanwhile, back at
okay.
home, we saw Wendell, Will's father. I was wondering if we were going to see him. And he talks to the safety droids. So I mean, I don't know what's going to happen out of that, but I mean, I guess will he be a through line this season? I'm not sure. He's trying to get his kids. I don't know. I'm just wondering. But he showed him again. I was shocked. They showed him again. I was like, oh, there he is. They showed him.
I mean, I feel like in most of those kind of like 80s-esque shows, we just see the parents just enough
right
throughout the course of the story that then they can be there for the big finale.
Yes.
So I'm sure Wendell and Fern's mom are gonna meet, and probably Katie's family or and Neil's family, and so I think that's gonna be the focus of like, how do we find our kids, and maybe through them we'll learn more about what Aten is and why it's so important that it's not found or discovered by anybody.
Well, Frank, this premise of the show gives me shades of Battlestar Galactica.
1980 version?
No, Frank, that's the hot version back then. But no, it's the same. Obviously, the same premise. They were trying to find their way home back to Earth. They didn't leave, and they were trying to come back. I would say, give me shades of that. They're in the universe, almost like Star Trek too. They're in the universe, take care of stuff away from their home, and at some point, do they go home? That's the whole thing. They gave me little shades of that, which to me is a great premise. I think it's a great premise. These kids, they overstepped their bounds. Now they're out in the universe, but they want to go home. So that's it. So we already got a built-in ending at some point, or they don't go home. I mean, I'm very curious to see how this story plays out. I don't know how many seasons we're going to get of this. I have no idea. We don't know anything. So if it's going to be just be enclosed with 10 episodes, that's it. Season, we have no idea yet, right? I don't think we know anything, right? We don't know. No. Yeah, so I'm already like, ooh, what's going to happen in the end already? I'm already thinking about that already on some level.
Yeah, John, because I know we haven't. I mean, who knows? I mean, I feel like Andor is unique amongst all the other Star Wars shows. The fact that they came out from the gate saying it was going to be a 2-season deal, so you knew that going in. But everything else seemed to be kind of like, hey, we'll do the first season, and then we'll let you know. And so far, other than Mandalorian, we've not get any second seasons of anything. So I will be curious to see how they're approaching this. If it's a really small stake story, or does it have ramifications for what Dave Filoni wants to do in this time period with all the other stories that he's trying to tell? what would you want to happen? Would you want this to be kind of a more smaller stakes kind of thing, or do you want it to have bigger ramifications to the general Star Wars universe?
I'm this kind of story, I think, especially as this like it's been built as this like Space Goonies coming of age thing, and it's like I would like for this particular series to not necessarily like have any major implications into anything else. Like I don't want like whatever our main characters end up with as the villain in the end, you know? I don't want that to be like, oh, our main characters, these kids are chasing this villain on forever now. You know, like I want like whoever their big bad is in this series, I want them to by the end of the season thwart that enemy. But I feel like the kids, because it's kids in this show, I want to see them maybe continue to grow. So maybe you know, maybe it's Fern and Wen and KB and you know Neil that have a story in the future. Like I want the story to like maybe wrap up in this season, but maybe those characters can have a future in the Star Wars universe. Like it doesn't have to wrap up now.
Okay.
I
No,
think I am feeling the opposite. I feel like I want at least I think if they do it correctly, we could do at least 2 or 3 seasons of this.
Hmm.
So big cliffhanger at the end of the season where maybe they think they've gone home and they're somewhere else. It ends. Um, Second season, same thing, kind of there more adventures, but then third season wrap it up. I would like to see that. I think you give it a couple seasons. I think you can play some really good emotional beats. Plus, the kids will be getting older on screen. Time can pass. I don't know. I think it's potential. Just these 2 episodes, I'm seeing potential for just for it to go on for a while. I think actually, if done right.
true. I mean, and I feel like that's always the challenge of doing stories so kid focused is that you're on the clock because kids grow uh, uh, unexpectedly and quickly as well. So you know, if you're trying to tell a story that's really kind of it could be 3 seasons, but it's supposed to be happening like within the span of like a year. And your kids, you know, it's taken you really 7 years to film this, and your kids are just getting older and older. It's hard to sell that it's like, oh, this whole story took place in 1 year, but our kids are 7 years older.
Frank, what's funny is there's some of the series we've watched. I'm glad they stopped the first season too. And a couple others I wouldn't mind seeing another season. Just like Ahsoka, I wouldn't mind another season of that, but like fleshed out better. I feel like they're laying low right now. They're not really telling us anything, except that Andor is coming out next April. Which folks we'll be back for that. We'll be back for that. Don't worry about that. But I almost feel like this could be a good reset. It's a kids show, kind of. This could be the reset. I think this show might become. I said we say it's the best reviewed show, obviously, since Andor. As we're saying, Rotten Tomatoes gives it 95%.
Yeah.
IMDb is like 7 out of 10. Like it's getting good reviews. I think it's doing what the Acolyte didn't do. I think it's so far. I think it's catching the attention in good ways that show with their kid actors didn't do on some level. I think. So I think this one has more potential. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know. Maybe the danger with fandom is like going back further in the past, like the Acolyte did. You risk if you're not, yeah, then I guess you get more into like, hey, what was written in the books and what was established? Are you being faithful to that? You're not. Oh, well, then I'm kind of already not inclined to enjoy your story. I feel like this time period after Return of the Jedi and before The Force Awakens, where we've been spending a lot of time in our various series, is kind of open. I feel for even though it's we're bracketed by kind of fixed points, this space in between is very open and it seems to allow for a lot of different types of stories to be told in it, whether it's something more for kids like the Skeleton Crew, or you've got the Mandalorian, or or those great mod fans and the Book of Boba Fett, those or Ahsoka, which we'll see what happens in season 2 with that.
Yep.
Can
But
I?
we, oh, go ahead, Jen.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask a question. So this clearly this is a coming of age story, right? The Skeleton Crew. And this is a new thing for Star Wars. We've never really had this kind of coming of age story in this universe before, right? Um, so like how would you guys feel if this coming of age story in the Star Wars universe was what was going to set us up for the future? And let's say that the four main characters are going to be, you know, Win, KB, Neil, and Fern, right? Like if we're going to go into the future and like let's just say hypothetically if this show does well and Disney says, "All right, people like these characters. We're going to watch them grow up before our eyes. And like the next saga of Star Wars is going to follow these main characters." Would you be okay with that? If it was these four child characters and we get to watch them grow up and the Star Wars universe is built around them in the future going forward. And that's where we get our new stories and new trilogies and all that.
You know, in theory, that sounds interesting to me, but I don't know if I would, I, at least at this point, would want to restrict it to just the four of them. Uh, for as cool and as dynamic as they might be during the course of this first season. But I do like the idea of like, hey, if Lucasfilm was like, this would be cool to be able to like tell more stories, take them through whatever they were up to during the Force Awakens era, and then go past that and into whatever's kind of lying forward in the Star Wars universe. I'm down with that, but I'd also want them. I don't know if I'd want them to be like the next like Han, Luke, Leia kind of
And
trend.
Chewie, right?
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, yeah.
But something, but I'm all down for that. For them to be like high level characters that would also meet other characters that we could establish and kind of follow through.
Yeah.
I have to disagree with you, Frank. I mean, not Frank. I'm used to Frank. John Dunphy. We have had other coming of age stories. The story of Anakin is a coming of age story.
It is. You know, you're right. You're right. But I feel like the coming of age story for Anakin was buried within a trilogy, where I feel like this story is strictly a coming of age story for the main characters that could potentially set up future stories for the series. You know what I mean? Where it's like
I don't.
the
I don't. I don't know how is it buried. I mean, the second trilogy is all about him basically being born and then growing up and then becoming Darth Vader.
and you're right. You're right. But I feel like it's just the hate that the actor got. I think
Oh no, no,
and
no. That, I'm saying that's all side. That's all on the
that
side.
and you're right. You're right.
It's
You're
just
right.
like, wait a minute, that's kind. And Luke and Laura. I mean, Luke and Laura. Wrong show. Wrong show. That's me and Frank's other show, General Hospital. Luke and Leia. That's kind of a coming age story too, on some level.
No,
Uh,
you're right. You're right. But I feel like I guess other than Anakin, which we saw just for one movie as a child, this feels like the real first like coming of age story, in the same way as the Goonies or something like that. You know what I mean? So I feel like this could usher in the new era of the series. Like I totally understand. I totally agree with you. Anakin and you know, young Anakin's story is a coming of age thing. But I feel like this specific story is meant as like a coming of age series, and that's the point of it. Where I feel like Anakin and his coming of age thing was just a part of the story. Where this series,
I think it's just too soon for us to even. We don't know about this series yet. We don't know. For me, that's why I can't answer this. Would I be okay with them? I want to first get invested in them. First. Will I get invested in them the rest of the season? Will episode 3 be a big dud?
it could
Uh,
be
we've
personally,
had.
yeah, I'm already invested.
I mean, I'm invested on some level. No, I'm invested on some level. I'm saying for like future larger story, I need to see the rest of the season. I think first. I need to
Yeah,
have more. I need to see what they tell us, storytelling they tell us.
yeah,
That makes me, like you said, like we were saying, Fern softens, or Neil learns a lesson and does something really great, or Wim calms down. Like I want to see. I need to see more. It's just too soon for me. It's too soon.
yeah,
Which episode?
yeah, and I don't disagree with you about Anakin, but I just feel like this feels like the first like teenage coming of age story that Star Wars has done. And I know that Anakin was like a coming of age story, but that was part of a larger
Question
story.
though: are they teenagers?
I mean,
They could be 13.
Oh no, I'm just trying to. Like, they didn't say their ages. And I was like,
No.
they look kind of young coming there, but I guess they could be teen. I mean, are they preteens? Are they?
They're taking their assessments, so I could say they're middle school or high school maybe.
No, that's not. I see middle school. I said, but middle school isn't middle school between fifth and eighth grade.
yeah.
Middle school is like for me middle school was 7th and 8th grade.
For us out here in California, I think it's well, Frank. I think you would. I think it's sixth through eighth or fifth through
Yeah.
eighth.
I mean, like, yeah, Josie's just there in sixth grade right now. She's just turned 12. So,
Yeah. My elementary school was 3rd grade to 6th grade, middle school was 7th to 8th, and then high school was 9th through 12th.
Yeah, we were 9 through 12 too for high school. I was in high school at 14. It was like crazy or 13 or whatever. It was like really weird.
uh,
Um,
yeah, I mean, I guess because like if these kids really took off and the fan base really embraced them as characters. Uh, the idea of following them is interesting, but I also think like realistically, would you be down, John, if they cast cast adult actors in these roles so that they could be in the new Ray trilogy, whenever that since that seems to be Lucasfilm's kind of priority in terms of the films going
or
forward.
do you want like a Harry Potter situation where we watched them from what 10 years old to 21 basically, like they did over 10 years. It was the same. Do you want that, John, or would you be okay if they said, well, yeah, we got the adults now. This one. I mean that's how you feel about that?
Um, See, here's the thing. I don't know that I want this series to um it's hard. This is a hard answer to give, honestly, because there's a part of me that wants this show to help continue what we've already gotten. But at the same time, I wouldn't be bothered at all if this became like its own unconnected thing, where it's like we follow these kids, they have their own story. It doesn't have to tie into anything we've already seen. Um, and in that case, I would love to follow these kids and not recast anybody. We don't need any time jumps. Let's let them have their own timeline, their own trilogy, their own show, and maybe we can just kind of like grow up with them, and a new generation of Star Wars fans can grow up with them, and they don't have to tie into anything that's going on. And maybe 20 years from now, they'll have their own trilogy. Who knows? But for now, I'm okay with this being its own independent Star Wars story. That where if it works, we can tie it into other projects that are going on. But if it's not, it can remain its own thing and become like a new big Star Wars property later on.
Right. John wants to see them, hit puberty, you know, uh, get to voting age, uh,
Yeah.
get their, fake IDs, then
Who you
eventually.
voting for? Palpatine or Mothma?
uh, well, our kids get taken in by the pirates, thrown into the brig. See if that'll soften them up. Tell them where we came, what the real deal is. And in there, because they can't get out, there seems to be the mysterious figure that comes from the back.
Oh, before that though, the part that was kind of funny because I did it was just to me it was cute. The rat trying to get the key, and it goes all over there, and then just walking, doesn't do anything. So I thought it was kind of hilarious to me. I thought
That
is
was
the rat
funny.
really gonna get it and like
Yeah,
bring
that
it
was
back to
funny.
them? Like, oh my god! But no, of course it doesn't do that. So that probably relapsed. Sorry for that, but probably relapsed.
Well, can I also just add about that? Because there's been so many shows recently where Star Wars is focused on force sensitive people having connections with animals. And it was like, all right, in this moment, is Neil going to show that he's force sensitive by talking to this rat and getting him to bring the key over? And it's like, nope, just a joke.
Joke,
Not
yeah,
real. Neil is not force sensitive.
no. The rat just walked off.
Yeah, the rat just ran away.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes, the dark shadowy figure. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that is certainly the running gag for SM33 is we see rodents crawl out of his eye socket
Yes.
consistently through this. Who knows if this is the last rodent that's crawling out of it? Oh, we didn't even talk about SM33 when he gets called when he comes in to defend the captain. Great fight sequence. I'm taking on all those pirates.
Yes.
He's a badass.
Yeah, I
Badass.
dug him. I was really down to see. So hopefully he is not taken out of the series. I like to
Yeah.
see him continue.
There's no way. This early? No way.
Too
We
cool. He's too
we
cool.
just got introduced to him. There's no way he's being taken
No,
away this
Frank,
fast.
Frank, and like you say, Frank, Richard Dunphy. In the last series we watched, they killed two major characters. What, episode 3 or 4? Come on, they do shit like this sometimes.
Yeah, there you go. Don't get attached,
I,
John.
I refuse to accept it.
You can refuse all you want. This is Lucas Films. No, yeah. Like I said, they do shit like this sometimes. Like, dang it. Yeah. Anyway, so yes, the shadowy figure comes out.
And it's your boy, James Jude Law.
Jude Law, Oscar nominee Jude Law. Oh, he is. I mean, and he fits right into me. He fits right in. And he uses the Force.
Or does he?
Or does he?
John Dumphy, right now, are you thinking he's a Force user or it's just a big con?
Here's my theory. I think that Jude Law was a Jedi, or at least a Jedi pupil. Um, the temple got taken down, so he had to go into hiding, became a pirate. Did not do very well as a pirate. So there was a mutiny that took place. He was put in jail, and he was waiting for the right people to come along to show his force abilities off to. These kids showed up with a ship. Now he's ready. I'm gonna grab that key with the force. I'm gonna show my cards a little bit here. We're gonna get off this rock. I'm gonna help these kids get home, and then I'm gonna rebuild my own life. And that's what I think Jude Law was doing.
Do you think he's more of a like a Balin Skull type, where he's kind of that gray Jedi guy?
I don't. I think that Balin Skull had more ambitious plans in mind. Um, I think that whatever character Jude Law was, is playing, which we'll find out more. Um, I feel like he was a Jedi that knew that it wasn't safe anymore to show that he was a Jedi. So he went into hiding, became a pirate. Luck didn't go his way. And he's just been waiting for the right moment to kind of show his powers again. And somehow, wow, can't even talk. Somehow, our four child friends will show him the way.
I mean, you kind of see where this is going. We know that he's our pirate captain. Is it going to be the Last Jedi kind of arc that Benicio del Toro had, where he's like, "I'm with you guys," and then I sell you out right at the end? Uh, and there is no further turn. Benicio just sells him out and says, "Adios, I'm gone."
Right, right.
Or does he have that kind of 80s Amblin thing where I've sold you out, but oh, wait a minute. As I'm walking away, I realize, holy cow, I am a better person for knowing you. And I am going to change my ways and save you and save the day.
Yeah.
James, which way do you think it's going to go?
Don't know yet. Both ways can go. It's too early. And like you said, again with cliffhanger world, he comes out, he gets the key, it ends. So we don't know nothing. Which I'm excited about. That made me excited. I was like, okay. So now I'm assuming the next episode is now them getting out, getting back to the ship, and then really figuring out what's going on. And I think he has his own agenda, obviously. Like John said, he was waiting for his turn to get out. And I have no idea. I'm excited. I'm excited to find out. I really don't know. He could go either way. We can totally everything you both just said. I totally can agree with. It's like agree either way. But I'm excited because now here he is. And
I think that he was a good guy that turned into a bad guy. That's going to turn back into a good guy by the end. That's as simple as that.
What's funny because I was watching the behind the scenes. It's like a 3-minute trailer, whatever. And John Favreau is very involved, folks, in this series. And he's very proud of all the directors they got. I read in our trailer episode. I read all the directors, the Daniels and Bryce Dallas Howard, and all the people are coming back and doing these shows. They said they really were going for certain looks and tones. So to me, the first 2 episodes they did it. So I'm curious to see if this can continue every episode. And Jude Law again is another Oscar nominated actor of caliber. I'm curious to see what the writing does for him. He said, "I'm playing with kids and animals. Like that's just something you shouldn't do." It's
And
very interesting, right? Very interesting.
and he's been in this sort of like fantasy world before, right? With Harry Potter,
Yeah,
like in Fantastic Beasts. So
yeah.
I think he has the seriousness to bring to this kind of role, where it's almost more of a, and that's why I'm excited about this show too, is that like you have talented actors that have played more serious roles, but it's more of a lighthearted show. So I feel like they're going to bring that performance and really deliver the story. I really do.
I'm really torn on whether I want him to be somebody adept with the Force, because there is something to be like said to have those scenes where I feel like this could treat the Force like more of like the mystical kind of cool kind of thing as a kid that we were all like, whoa, that's cool, especially where Wim's involved for this. Or he's just pulling a con, and he's not really a Force user. He just made the kids, buy into that because it was a good way to get them on their side and get them going.
I hear you on that. I just feel like if he could get the key to come to him, why wouldn't he have done it before the kids got there?
Right.
Like you've been trapped in this cell all this time. Now the kids show up and you pull the key over. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
So I mean,
That's how
that's
I
what.
feel. Yeah,
Go ahead, James.
that's how I feel. I feel like he's a gray area. He's a gray area character, a gray character. That's what I think he is. And I don't mind that.
Right. Me
You
too.
know, but I'm curious if this is a kid centric series, how far will that mustache twirling go, so to speak, for kid?
There you go. Well, we have to cut some hands off. So, I mean, that's what we want on your Star Wars media. You want body limbs being severed.
You know, I do enjoy the gore. I do. I do. I don't know if I want that in the series, but I do enjoy gore. Yeah, I do.
Yep. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, that does it for these first two episodes of the Skeleton Crew.
It is.
But we're going to be back next week with the recap of episode three, most likely on next Thursday night, right here. Is that correct, James Lott Jr.?
Hey, wait, is that correct, John Dunphy? You said you're off on Thursdays, right?
It seems like this month I'm gonna be off on Thursdays. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
The
Seems like
Oh,
garden controls my life. MSG. Um
uh as always, as I said at the top, make sure you keep
it's
posted
a
on.
cliffhanger, guys. It's a cliffhanger.
That's it.
Philip and Frank and I'll be here. We don't know if John will. The garden may have them, so
no,
who knows?
I'll be
There
here
you
on Thursday. I'll be here.
go.
As long as it's okay. I just feel bad. I don't want to dictate your guys' schedule. So
No,
So
what?
you are part of the team, and it's not matter.
Yes.
I know. This month just sucks at MSG. We're doing Annie the musical, we're doing Knicks, we're doing Rangers, we're doing all these different shows, and it's just very hard. So I appreciate your, flexibility.
Are you kidding this? I've been waiting for this. It's been so long since the accolade.
Yeah. And
I know.
Frank, you are very flexible, which I appreciate. So
Yeah. I'm glad you noticed that. Thank you.
Just,
Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the Skeleton Crew After Show. We'll be back, of course, next week to break down episode three. But if you want to follow any of us online to, for our general musings about life, the Force, the perfect pairing of wine and cheese, uh, John Duffy, where can they find you?
you can find me at jdunn89. I eat lots of cheese. Um, I don't drink any wine, but you can find me there, and then find me also at Stretch Chat Pod. We talk about the challenge and Survivor and Big Brother.
Woo! The challenge, enjoying it? Battle of the
No,
Arrows?
no,
is it no? Is it
You're
no?
not enjoying Battle of the
no.
Arrows?
It's a terrible season.
Really?
My favorite player on the season is Mariah, who's not actually on the season. She just has fantastic thighs and a wonderful ass.
Well, hopefully next challenge season she will be back. Her and her UK boy toy.
James is like, what is happening to my network?
I don't even know. I know what to say after all that. I'm like, I don't even know. Okay.
Uh, James Lott Jr., where can they find you?
Well, my nice ass and legs be found anywhere James Lott Jr. is sold at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms. Check out me and Frank next Monday where we're doing a live prime time version of General Hospital.
Man,
It's been good this week. General Hospital, at 7 p.m. So Pacific time. So that's next Monday. So you will see us again. You'll see us twice next week live at night. So we're doing that. And that's it. I think just shape touching everywhere.
There you go. All bets will be off next Monday night. We're just gonna be very raw.
So raw, so raw and so real.
That's right. For me, you can follow me on any of the social medias there at Happy Go Jackie.
And we're on Blue Sky. Frank is and I am. I don't know if John is, but we're on Blue Sky.
I'm on Blue Sky. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Am I following you, John, on Blue Sky?
The people are fleeing from Twitter.
No, I've lost a lot of followers. They literally have gone over to Blue. I'm getting so many followers on Blue Sky. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
I've lost like over 300 followers the last like month or so. I'm like, wow, my numbers are going down because they're going, and I'm gaining them over on Blue Sky. But am I following you, John, on Blue Sky?
I don't know. Well, I'll figure it out. So once we get off, I'll
Oh, yeah.
Once we get off,
I'm like, I'm flexible. I'm like, wow, okay. In the garden.
We'll get off in the garden.
Here, Frank, before we get in trouble.
There you go. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time for the next episode of the Skeleton Crew After Show right here on ALJ Media. Till then, may the force be with you always.
Pew, 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 pew.